Welcome to Hearts and Stripes, your one-stop shop for all things military marriage. I hope our discussions and interviews equip you with the tools to start or grow a beautiful marriage as we address the benefits and challenges of marriage. I believe life's most precious moments are worth celebrating, so I'll help you design your marriage blueprint in alignment with your core values. Thank you for joining us, and remember to rate, subscribe, and review. Let's do this. Hello, and welcome to Hearts and Stripes podcast. This is your host, Kierra, and I am excited to give you a little something this morning. So if you guys are new here, welcome. This is a heart to heart. And what you need to know about Hearts and Stripes podcast is that we are here to strengthen military marriages. Now, this episode is actually going to kick off our faith series. It is our marriage and faith series. So I'm really excited about it. And I am actually recording this episode on the go. So I just came back from Tampa Millions Conference, which was amazing. Maybe I'll share a little bit more about that on Instagram. But just so much revelation has come from that conference. And let me clarify. I am a Christian. I am a believer. I am a follower of Jesus Christ. So that is the faith that we will be talking about here in this series more specifically. But by all means, if there is a listener out there that maybe shares another faith and you want to talk about faith and marriage from that perspective, I would love for you to hit me up at It's Bree Carroll, slide in my DMs. Let's talk about setting up some time to talk about faith and marriage from your perspective of faith. I think that would be amazing. And I always want this platform to be very open and inclusive to hear different perspectives on how we can strengthen our military marriages. So let me jump into a little bit about faith and marriage. Again, this is going to be a short episode because I am actually on the run in the midst of traveling, but I had to come through and just share one of the eye-opening moments that I had from Millions Conference. So a little backstory, I am one of those people who always sets out to read the entire Bible. Let me just say, I have not yet succeeded in going all the way through and reading the Bible from Genesis to Revelation. And it used to frustrate me. It used to frustrate me because every time I would start over with Genesis and I'd get maybe half the way through the Old Testament and then I would just fall off. But I continued to read Genesis because you always start over at the beginning. So I would read Genesis, and I've read Genesis one several times, but it would always frustrate me because it was like, man, I done read Genesis way more times all the way through than I've ever read through Revelations because I never got that far, or through a lot of the books of the New Testament. I hadn't read through as many times as I've read over Genesis. And at the Millions Conference, let me tell you, first of all, let me explain that Millions Conference is a prophetic business conference. And for those who may not know me, I am actually an entrepreneur. I design experiences. So I have a background in wedding and event planning. I was a civil engineer for several years. So I use that problem solving, those logistics, that love for design, and that joy to see people come together and share in life's most precious moments. And I meld that all together. And that is how I design experience. You can find out more about that at breecarroll.com. But for the sake of this episode, that's why I was at the Millions Conference, because I wanted to develop my business in a way where I am truly partnering with God to be the CEO of my business. So that is why I was at Millions Conference. And let me tell you, they broke down Genesis chapter 1 in so many ways that it really just blew my mind. And I just wanted to start there today with encouraging you, if you are a person of faith, to read through all of Genesis 1. It is really a beautiful chapter that talks about the creation, God's creation, and how it all began. And I'll read a couple of the segments from here, and then I'll kind of give you some little nuggets or some things to think about in your marriage relationship. So it starts off very simply with Verse 1, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the water. And God said, let there be light, and there was light. And God saw light, and it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. So that was verse 1 through verse 5. And then let me jump down to not the good part. It's all good, which is what he says over and over. But I want to go down to the portion where we start talking about us. So in verse 26, we said, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created him, male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. I just wanted to stop there at verse 28. And I wanted to bring out some exciting points that I found that were very eye-opening for me. And I hope that it is something that, it's something that I'm translating to my business, but it is something that I also feel like needs to translate to my marriage. And I love that in the beginning, from verse 1, it says that God created. I feel like this is a great example of something that we need to do more so in our relationships, in our lives, is create. We jumped down to those latter verses, and we saw that he created us in his image, He created us in his image. So if we are in his image, we absolutely can create. And it's amazing how you see in the word how he created. And he said, he made statements, he made declarations, he used his words to create all the things that we see and get to enjoy today. And the tip that I want to give from the word during this marriage and faith series to kind of kick us off is, one, I want you to read the entire book of Genesis and see what ahas you get from it, and all the excitement about the different portions of creations and how God operates, because there's definitely nuggets in there about resting, which we won't talk about for this episode, and all types, just tons of things that are full in Genesis 1. But I just want to encourage you in your marriage relationship to create. You have the power and the ability to create in your marriage, in your life. Maybe your circumstance is not what you would want it to be. Your marriage is not where you want it to be. Maybe it is, and you desire more. Maybe you want to thrive even more. And I am so here for that. You can create that in your marriage relationship. Let Genesis 1 be a guide to how you create and cultivate these things in your life. Say it. Use your words. This is something that I've talked about previously, but I felt very much so led to bring it here. Say the things. Use your words. You have to have your thoughts and your minds in alignment with your words. And then after you speak the thing that is good, right? Because at the end of what he created, at the end of that first day, he saw that it was good. So you need to ensure that you're having positive words to speak over your relationship for the things that you are creating so that it is good. I encourage you to do that. And I wanted to read those latter verses and emphasize the fact that he created both male and female. It was in the image of God. Whether you're male or female, you still have this same power. you still have are a representative or a reflection of God. That is so encouraging. That is so just inspiring to think about, that as big and vast and great and complex that God is. Well, that's probably why we are complex creatures, right? Because we are made in his image. But think about it, and just rest in the fact, and think about that you maybe be thinking a lot less of yourself. I know I was, prior to having this aha again. I think I am underestimating who I was created, and what of who I am. I think I've been underestimating that. And maybe you've been underestimating that for yourself as well. And I encourage you today, during this Faith and Marriage series, to think about, what are you? Not who, but what are you? And it says in the word, you're created in his image. So continue to dive in and just be open to receive the different revelations that may come from this Faith and Marriage series. And don't think less of yourself, because your creator thinks so much of you that he gave you dominion over all of the earth. It is such a beautiful picture that we see here in Genesis. Everything is new and freshly created, and God ties a bow on it and gives it all to us. So how dare we live with limitations and calling ourselves less than? How dare we settle for relationships that harm us and people that hurt us? How dare we think of ourselves as just existing in this thing and waiting for the next? No, we have dominion now. There's beautiful things that we can create in our marriage, in our life, in our relationships, and we can do that right now. So that is one of the ahas that I got during this Millions Conference. I'm super excited for you to hear from more of my guests that will be on the podcast in this Faith and Marriage series. And I just want to ask you the question, what maybe came to mind when you heard that you can create, that you are made in the image of God? Maybe there are people who are not believers who are listening to this series, and I hope that you still stick in there with me and just listen and get the information, see how it resonates, chew on it a little bit, let it marinate, see how you feel about it. And I would love to have a healthy discussion on Instagram. That's where I love to hang out, at It's Bree Carroll. So this has been a heart to heart. I hope that you have enjoyed this segment of Hearts and Stripes podcast as we kick off the Faith and Marriage series. Okay, and before I let you go, our heart track for this episode is going to be from one of my favorites. This is a song from Tasha, Cobbs, Leonard, and it is Your Spirit. It is actually featuring Kierra, Sheard. And I actually picked Your Spirit because in the beginning, that the Spirit of God hovered over the deep. Like, it is by his Spirit that all these things are so. And I'm not going to go too deep into it. You listen to the song. They have beautiful voices, and it is such a moving song. And it just talks about how we really need to hear from the Lord and get direction and guidance. And that's what I'm praying for your relationships during the course of this series. Yes, I'm going to be praying for y'all. I'm going to be praying for your relationships. Like I said, even if you're not a spiritual person, it is okay. I got you. Sometimes you need people to pray on your behalf. But I so encourage you, even if it's a small prayer that says, God, help me in my marriage, or just share your heart. Like, you don't have to be all extra King James. You don't have to pray King James and say thou and thou's and sound all holy. No, keep it real. My prayers when I talk to God is super real. Lord, I need help. I don't understand what's going on here. Help me to be a better wife. Help me to enjoy my husband, and get closer to him. Help me be a better mom. Help me figure out this thing. Lord, what you want this business to look like? Like, real prayers. So I encourage you to listen to that heart track. Remember, you can listen to our full playlist of heart tracks on Spotify. On the playlist, Heart Tracks 2. Just search Heart Tracks 2 on Spotify, and you can hear all of the songs that are reminders of past episodes. And this heart track is Your Spirit by Tasha, Cobbs, Leonard, which is featuring Kierra, Sheard.
Thank you for tuning in. Remember to rate, subscribe, and review. This is Hearts and Stripes. We are the few, the proud, that aim high and are forged by love. Always ready, always there. We are Mill Marriage Strong.